Welcome back to another episode of Whatchu Spinnin. This is episode 63, cooking in the books, the unintentional revisit episode. Uh, Big fans of that. We love it. Super stoked to revisit some great artists. Hear some different albums from them. I'm super stoked for that. We're remote again because it's frozen. It's froze over on my side of town. Y'all are covered in snow. How are y'all doing?
Yeah. Good. I'm hunkered down. I walked outside for a little bit. A lot of ice. It's not really, it's like compacted snow. Like really icy. So definitely not going out. Definitely not moving. Not in my old shitty grandma car. So
Stay indoors. Yeah, I didn't expect to wake up to the snow, but it's a nice surprise. I'm glad I have everything stocked up, like you guys are saying. Got the THC, got the food, got the caffeine.
We're good.
And a warm place to call home. So,
yeah. Hell yeah. No, it didn't snow on my side of town, and I was telling Matt this earlier, Jake. This morning at 6, I went to go see what the neighborhood looked like, and I was like, ah, fuck it, I'll light a joint. My car is still completely frozen over, and so on the side view mirror, I just put the joint out. I was like, all right, I'll go back inside. I go back an hour later to check, and there's another half inch already frozen on top of my car. My ashes from my joint were perma sealed. It was like a caveman. I was like, what the fuck?
yeah.
So yeah, it's nuts. I'm glad I bared the grocery stores yesterday and got all the stuff I needed because fuck going out today, man.
Yeah.
Well, anything we want to talk about before we dive into today's albums?
I don't think so. I'm excited about our picks this week, and I just realized you're wearing a floater beanie. I don't know why I didn't see that before, but anyways.
From when we went, I got this when we saw him do Animals and Altar.
Hell yeah. But yeah, I think we all picked good albums. It's kind of cool to revisit artists we've already talked about on the podcast. Shows our love for that artist. And it shows how unique each album that we talk about from that artist is. So let's do it again.
Let's do it all again. Hell yeah. Well, one quick thing, just in case, or no, I'll save it. I'll bring it up organically later in the episode.
All right. Just save it.
I like Matt's like, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, you know what? Why I oughta. Fuck yeah. Well, with that being said, it's Whatchu Spinnin episode 63. Here we go. Starting off today, I'm bringing to the table, revisiting an artist that we first brought up. It was a Matt pick from episode 19. We're going back in time from that album about 3 years to 1995 with Floater's second album, Glyph, released in 1995, like I said. Fucking fantastic. The first album that I heard, first full album I heard from them, so I am absolutely in love with it. I could go on and on and on, but I will digress for now.
I think after Angels, that was a good pick. Glyph is a good pick, but Jake, what do you think? I feel like this is a good album for any Floater fan to get their head around.
Yeah, definitely. It made me appreciate Floater a lot more. Listening to Angels, and then I listened to Alter before the show. So I was like, okay, I got kind of two sides of them for their albums. But going back to this, man, dude, it made me so much more of a Floater fan, and appreciate it a lot more. And I feel like if I would have listened to this when they made it and when it was popular locally, I feel like everyone would have been talking about it and everyone would have been raving, and I would have been so much more of a metal fan and a rock fan, because this I feel like would have shaped anyone that heard it. Growing up in Eugene, you could relate to it because it's local and something that you're seeing in your city. So yeah, really good. I was listening to it a little bit this morning. We kind of thought it was dad rock that it sounded at some points, which is a funny way to put it, but it rules, dude. It fucking rules. It's really good. Everything about it. I really liked, like at first when we were talking about it, Dorian, like a week ago that we hung out. You're like, so what do you think about Glyph? I was like, it's really good. Like I really like Cinema. Like that was the first song that I like wrapped my head around. And then I listened to the rest of the album and I was like, okay, this is in my top 3. No, wait, there's one more in my top 3. No, there's one more. So it like just kept going, like the songs that I would like more and more. So yeah, dude, really good. Really, really good.
We love to hear it.
Yes.
We like that shit.
This album for me was also kind of my introduction to Floater besides Sync. The 2 songs on this album that were immediately drew me in right away, Cinema and Danny Boy. And I remember being in high school, and me and my buddy would just play those 2 songs, just kind of rock out. We didn't really explore the album at all until later on in that year. And I was always kind of anti-Floater for a while because when I was in high school, it was very much like Too Short and hip hop, and it took me a while because everybody liked Floater that I knew, and I was like, I don't want to like them just because you guys like them, you know. And their name's Floater, so that sounds kind of weird. And so it took me a while to like actually listen to Floater, and these 2 songs were the first ones that I heard from this band, and that's when I became a fan. And I was regret like, why did I wait so long? Like, what the hell was my problem? But this album brings back so many memories for me from high school, growing up, driving around Eugene, because there's not a lot to do when you're in high school in this town, getting stoned, doing drugs, and being stupid and getting into trouble. And Floater was our staple. We'd always have Floater. Everybody knew Floater. Everybody was playing Floater. And even if you didn't like the band, you knew of the band. And I think that's what's so cool about this band. Even if you're not a fan, you know who Floater is for the most part if you've grown up in Eugene most of your life. So this band has a soft spot deep in my heart, for sure. We always love the Floater show when we go. When you guys went with me, that was so much fun. Visually, they put on a great show. I remember seeing them. I didn't see them live until maybe a few years after this album came out, but visually back in the day, back in the late 90s, I remember their stage shows were a little bit more elaborate. And I remember seeing things I'd never seen on screen before. So cheers to Floater for always pushing new things and sharing new ideas and opening my eyes to cinema, not like the song, but like movies in general I'd never seen. I always loved that about Floater, whether it be movie samples they used on this album specifically or Sync. Anyways, I could go on about Floater for a long time. What do you say? What do you got, Dorian?
Nah, man. I mean, it's Glyph, and like you said, Cinema and Danny Boy. To a young, impressionable 12-year-old such as myself, when I stumbled upon this, those were huge. Just like the aggression in them, and then the catchiness, and yet aggression behind Danny Boy, it's unparalleled. And that was right when I was starting to really get into music and playing music, and so I found. Shout out to like this one guy who is a huge Floater fan and has a really good ear for music because he's tabbed out like 7 of their songs. And so when I was like 12, 13 years old, I learned Cinema and Danny Boy on guitar at the time. This week I've picked up the bass and have been trying to find every Glyph tab I can fucking find at this point. I was playing all the stories but one before we hopped in here. So just from like a musician standpoint, I fucking love this album. And every time I give it a full listen to, like I did 18 times in the past 2 weeks, I find something different about it, or I fall in love with something different about it. It's very much, it's an album that's like been with me since I first heard it, and it's grown my appreciation for it has kind of grown and evolved in various ways throughout the years. So I'm very excited that we got to talk, that we're getting to talk about it. And I mean, even outside of the 2 biggest songs, those are staples at every Floater show. We've got Clean Plastic Baby, which, lately hasn't been played a whole lot, but I've gotten the chance to see that live, and that song rules.
Yeah, my favorite tracks on that album for sure is that song, and any live version that they play of that song, even Danny Boy. It's just always different, unique, improv. Oh, man. Love that track.
Oh, yeah. I can't remember if I mentioned it when we first talked about Floater, but I got throat chopped. I got like chopped in the throat in the mosh pit during Clean Plastic Baby. I got dog piled on because like people fell into me. I'm like 17 years old.
Yeah, you didn't tell us this story.
Yeah, no, I got throat chopped by a Cuban dude in a Hawaiian shirt in the middle of Clean Plastic Baby. That was fucking sick. He caught me in the trachea and everything. I was like, and then like toward the end of it, a group of people like fell on top of me because like I lost my balance and there was a wave of people. You know how it goes. And as I was like standing up, people just kept like falling on my back, and so I had to like Hulk rage out and like, raw, like get off me, like try and get out of there because I was fucking dying. It was hilarious. Love a good floater show, and I'm really hoping because we saw them do the Alter 20-year anniversary. Crossing fingers that they do something similar for this because a year from now it'll be 2025. That would be fucking sick if they did a 30-year anniversary for this, which is nuts that this album's about to be 30.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, but yeah, all the stories but one, great track. I mean, I could really just dive into any of them, but
I
This is
like
such a diverse album for them too. I feel like it's from starting off with the Knowing Dirge and like all the other tracks that like lead into all the stories but one, and then kind of into isolation. It goes from like happy to sad a little bit, but it's always so like aggressive and in your face, and it's just a true floater sound. So, anyways, continue, Jake. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. I like also it was interesting that yeah, it has the same feel that you said, like it's some more aggressive, some slower. Um is it Bottle that it has
Mhm.
kind of like a country folk feel to it, and
Yeah,
it's not the singer, it's not like the main guy, it's the other guy singing, right?
it's the drummer. Yeah, it's the
Yeah.
drummer singing.
That threw me off. I was like, "Whoa, okay, like this is a different side of Floater," and it threw me off at first. But that one also been growing on me. I when I was listening to this Cinema, that one first caught my ear. It kind of to me sounds like at a certain point like Surge from System, like a little bit. So I was like, "Huh." Like that's kind of the similarity that I got. But yeah, like all the stories but one, that song is wow. That song is crazy. It kind of at that point on that song, certain points, it kind of sounds like Metallica, because like just for the song length and like the structure, like it has ups and downs and it kind of switches and has a bunch of different sides of it. The transitions, it has a solo with like a funky bass line in the background that it's subtle, but if you like hear it, you can hear the little, the bends and stuff. So it's really good. Yeah, Isolation, The Face of Order. Like more and more that I listen to new stuff from Floater, that is really just old stuff. Like more and more
Just
that
new to
I listen
you.
to it, yeah, it makes me so much more of a fan. So I'm like, damn, like I wish I would have, gotten into this a lot sooner. But dude, really good. Like, thank you for bringing this up. I love revisiting an artist because we see either a different side or we just appreciate more of what they have. So
Right.
really good.
Yeah. Um, I have something. Bear with me here. This is gonna have to start being a segment at some point. Dorian's wild hair music theories. Uh, I think Rob Wynea just for like I don't know, let's say a year, just every night got stoned out of his mind and listened to Frizzle Fry for like a year when he was writing this album. If you sit here and listen to it, like listen to the bass parts, it's just oozing with like Frizzle Fry influence. Like there's just Les Claypool is all over this as far as influence. It might be a long shot, but there's like he's like doing chords on bass at one point. He's doing like the Claypool strumming and the pop slaps on all the stories but one, and then also being like uh he uses a lot of effects throughout this album, and I'm like, dude, he had to just sit there and just jack off to Frizzle Fry for like a year straight, like because it makes the most sense, but it's badass, how it ends up working out. Uh, so I
He's
love
such a
that.
good, he's such a good bass player. I feel like
Mhm.
anything he does, every song that you always hear that bass, and you're like, is that no? That's the bass. You think it's the guitar, but it's not. And this band is the only other comparison to like Rush, where every musician is incredible. Guitar
Mhm.
player, bass, drummer, they're all unique. And Floater is an example of that. Dave Amador was a great guitar player. Peter Cornett, when he was alive, was a great drummer. And then Rob's an amazing bass player. Um,
Mhm.
And to have those many gifted musicians together making one sound is so fun, and you don't see it very often. And to have it be so local, I love it. I love.
Oh yeah, yeah, and the way that they, just to go back, the same show where I got trampled during Clean Plastic Baby, they opened the show with Cinema. And we were like
Nice.
in between the acts, and so me and a couple of buddies from upriver were like kind of meandering, and we didn't realize that Floater, like they had turned the house lights down and like Floater was on stage, and we just heard this opening like boom, like bass, like just open note. And dude, I was at the back, like where they sell T-shirts at the McDonald Theater, and I felt that shit in my esophagus. I was like, it shook me, like literally physically shook me. I was like, oh fuck, and then immediately, like I just sweat my ass off for an hour and a half running around and beating people up to Floater. Phenomenal night. Um, and then, yeah, man, I don't know, just the Face of Order. I mean, come on now. Persecutor, like the movie sample. Matt, I think this might be our most quoted like album lyrically, probably, other than The Wall. Probably, when we worked together. Like just us like, why are you persecuting me? Why are you against me? All the time. It's so good, and it really is just like I think when you live in the area and you've grown up listening to Floater, it's like it just feels so home. It feels so much like home. Like this album's gotten me through a lot of fucking hard times in my life because it's like it's familiar. It's like, to use the phrase, it's like biscuits and gravy, It's just it's fucking Glyph, man. You know what you're gonna get. It's gonna be great. You just listen to it, feel your feels, kick some ass, whatever. It's just, one of my top favorite albums. It's the reason why Floater's been in my top 5 on Spotify the past 2 years is because of this album. So
yes,
alone. So
hell yeah,
hell yeah. Top 3s.
Let's rock it.
Let's rock it. Or any final statements about old Floater boys?
Just going back to the movie samples and the way they use them. I mean, I feel like a lot of bands throughout the years have done that. Ministry being like a lead example, being the front runners for that. But other bands do it and they don't do it very well. So I feel like Floater's always been subtle about it and they don't do it on every song. But this album in particular, there's just so many good movies that they reference, whether it's One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest with Crawl Into You, or The Last Temptation of Jesus Christ on Persecutor. There's just so many good movies in there that they just reference, and that's how I found out about these movies, was from this album, and I went and watched them. I was like, oh wow, this is a decent movie.
You're like, fuck so, yeah, man.
Shout out to Floater.
Yeah. Well, and cool. It kind of, just to surmise it again, the way that they know what they're doing, like they're true showmen at the same time. Like when we saw them for the dog, or I keep wanting to call it dogs, the Animals and Altars show, they flipped around like what movie samples came before which song off of the album, Like I think they threw one at the very beginning, which isn't how the album starts out, or there was some stuff like that they did, and I was like, man, they know what the fuck they're doing. So shout out Floater, indeed. I'll kick us off for top 3s. Honorable mention, have to do it. Sad Ballad of Danny Boy. I mean, come on. Another honorable mention, The Face of Order. And then 3, 2, 1, The Knowing Dirge, that vocal effect with like the warbly vocal on that song. Insane. Number 2, Clean Plastic Baby. And number 1, All the Stories But One. Fantastic fucking song. That is my top 3.
Very nice. I'll go next. Honorable mention, Crawl Into You, just because of the slow progression to end the album. Such a great album. And then 3, 2, 1, All the Stories But One. Persecutor, and then my top track, Clean Plastic Baby. Yeah.
Nice.
Fuck yeah.
Nice. Honorable mention, I'm going Cinema. First one that really caught my eye when I was listening to it. Top 3, I'm going Isolation, The Face of Order, and then All the Stories But One. Fucking killer track. I wish they pressed this on vinyl, dude. I would want this so bad.
He's so good.
Yeah, didn't someone pop up? There's a Facebook group for Floater fans, and some girl in there who has to be on their merch team or something because she's like teased merch before. She's like, who would be interested in us pressing their catalog? And Matt and I think I left like 3 comments. I was like, please, for the love of Christ, like fucking press their stuff. I was like, I'll pay $100 for Glyph yesterday.
Easy.
I was like, dude, you tell me there's 500 copies of Glyph getting pressed again? Holy shit.
I don't care which floater album you press, just give me one.
Yeah.
One.
Exactly.
It's like kind of like Eugene's like little, like Oregon's little niche, like artists. Like you have to know about it. Like there isn't anything pressing. They don't have that much listening. You kind of have to be in the know to know. It feels like.
Well, and it's the thing. I definitely think this was mentioned last time. It's like I'm upset that more people don't know about them, but I'm simultaneously so grateful that more people don't. So that way we get badass shit like, you know, them doing just a concert of themselves doing 2 full albums, you know, and then selling out the Crystal Ballroom every fucking time they play it, you know, and still coming to cool venues, you know, like the McDonald, you know, I don't think they'll ever graduate from playing the McDonald, which is amazing to me, you know, like it's just, thank God, you know, and then they're not like touring the country. So if they're playing, it's going to be in driving distance. It's going to be in Eugene or Portland or Bend. It's going to be in one of 3 places. You get yourself a floater show. With that being said, please, if anybody fucking hears this, put it in their ears to do a 30-year anniversary show for Glyph. That would be nuts next year. I might have to figure out a way. I might be like, yo, please
start a movement, man.
Yeah. I'll post this episode every time I mention it. I'll be like, please look at this. But hell yeah, that was 1995's Glyph by Floater. Our local hometown heroes from Eugene. Shout out to him. That was my pick for this week. We'll be right back to continue on with Whatchu Spinnin' episode 63 by talking about Jakes. We'll be right back. All right, it's time to move it along here on Whatchu Spinnin'. It's time to kick it over to my main man Jake, who's gonna take us a little bit out of the 90s and let us know what he's got cooking for this episode. What you got?
Yeah, so it's 2020 Melodiesinfonie Fragments. 2020. It's like instrumental beat hop. I don't know, like beats. It's like that's how I would describe it. Yeah, I brought Melodiesinfonie up back on episode 38, 39, I want to say. Yeah, just another
39.
introduction. 39, thank you. Just another introduction to him. You know, we talked about that album, but this one I like. Another really great one, just something you can have in the background, you know, in a little party, making food, what have you. Yeah, what are you guys' takeaways from
it?
I'll go. I was muted. It wasn't cooperating. Yeah, dude, Melodiesinfonie. I loved A Journey to You. That was the name of the last one, right? A Journey to You.
Yes.
I liked that one a lot. This one I loved even more, which is fucking awesome. It is, you know, just the perfect. You can't just throw it onto the background of almost any scenario. You know, I spent like Wednesday, I want to say, I made pupusas, which is kind of an undertaking. And so I just had this playing, or I've been doing making the playlist of all the albums, so that way it's easy for me. And this one was the first one I added to the playlist, and I had to just rewind. Like I almost just played every song again as soon as it was done, because I was like, damn, this is like actually perfect for, you know, cooking and stuff. And I have been doing a lot of that recently. And if I'm not doing podcasts, I've been playing, you know, more music out loud, and this one was very much a feature in the house this week. So thank you for bringing it up. It is very instrumental, vibey, fucking great for any occasion. I don't know, the words that you could use to describe this goes on and on. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think I shared Dorian's like as far as this album. I think Fragments. I enjoyed this one a lot more, and I couldn't really pinpoint the genre. Sometimes I was like, "Oh, this is an indie album." I'm like, "No, this is like acid jazz, hip hop, whatever the fuck that means." And there's so many different aspects of all those things in there, and so I think that's what I like about him as a performer. Very cool. A lot of the songs set the tone. Spirit kind of set the tone for that album in general. And I think that's the overall feel when you listen to this album. And it's fun. It's like Dorian said, you can put it in the background when you're cooking or just driving, anything. It's mellow. Anybody can listen to it and I think be a fan. It's not going to piss anybody off. It's great music. If you don't like this music, then I don't think you like music in general. It's very accessible for me.
Right. It's kind of funny to say, but you bring up, that's like a very good point, is like this is about as accessible as music gets. You know what I mean? Because it's not complicated in a way. You know what I mean? It's like he's fucking talented. I'm not trying to discredit him at all. But when you cut it down to brass tacks, like there's not a lot going on. Like it's just the way that it's produced and layered and everything really fills it out. You know, it takes these very small pieces of, you know, a song. There's like a 3-note riff that will turn into a 4-minute song. And it's like, Jesus Christ, dude, like, mind you, that's like what music is basing something around something. But to have it be that minimalistic when you break it all down and have it work this well, it is, you know, I feel like I could play this for my 7-year-old grandmother and she'd find something to like about it. I could play it for my metalhead dad, you know, like it's kind of, which is fucking awesome, man. Like, and again, I think I said this when we first brought up Melody, was I had seen the name so many times and was like, what the fuck? And like this album cover, I remember specifically seeing, and I was like, what on God's green fucking earth is that? Like, I assumed it was like some Young Lean type of thing, and I was like, oh, that would probably be right up my alley. Come to find out, it is for a completely different reason. So shout out. And I mean, fuck, if we're gonna revisit an artist, let's keep revisiting this one. I love this stuff. Just everything that he's able to do.
Yeah, I think on a production standpoint, it's really unique because, like, for a producer's mind, being in their shoes, like you kind of want to have the same feel for like the album, but it's also blends in a bunch of different genres. Like, you know, it blends in jazz, it blends in hip hop, it blends in some soul, it blends in some funk, you know, also some like there's like bongo drums in it. There is a lot of like indie on it. So yeah, it's kind of everything. And on a producer standpoint, he blends it all really well. And it all flows very evenly too. Like throughout the whole album, you know, we see also familiar faces on A Journey to You, like June's. He's also all over this album with his lyrics, his vocals. There's the bass that's outlined in almost all of the tracks. Bongo drums on What a Day. So yeah, it's unique, and I like that he, as a producer, always does that, kind of ties together, because you're kind of like, as a producer, you're like, you know, like what's that person, the dude, the orchestrator, you know, you're like making sure everything's in line, making sure everything's right. And I mean, you hear that with this album. It has highs and lows, ups and downs, and it all flows really, really well. So yeah, the cover too is really cool. It's kind of what drew me to it initially, because like, you know, it just looks like photoshopped, like this little baby like holding a little beam of light. And like the disc, it's cool too. When you put it on the turntable and it's spinning around, it's just a picture of the baby, so it's just like spinning around constantly in the center. So it's pretty cool.
Dude, next time we're at your place, I want to see that shit. That sounds awesome.
It's pretty cool. We were playing it last time when we were just like building a Lego set.
Hell yeah.
And it's like, you know, just throw it in the background. You could still talk over it. You could still do whatever. You can cook. You can clean. Like it's like music for any setting. And yeah, like Matt said, if you don't like this, like you don't, you know, it's like music, and it draws from everything. So it's real accessible to anyone to listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
Be curious to see how his live setup is too. Like if he's got a band with him, I'm sure he does, to recreate that sound. Be kind of a cool concert to go to.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I'd hope so, because as like everything that he does, all his other stuff, he has an EP that I really like. It has a funky name on it, but I own that one too. And he's made newer stuff. I think he just came out with the album last year, 2023, that I listened to a little bit of. But he's constantly making music, so I'll definitely, if I hear it and I end up purchasing it, I'll revisit it again for sure.
Hell yeah, we love that. And it's to go back to kind of the drawing from all sorts of places. I have a note here. The song "Fun" had a very like Khruangbin feel almost to it.
Yeah.
And then on Dizzy Reality, it's got like some cool pop slap bass. So, and it sounds almost like elevator music kind of. And then there's other stuff on here that I'm like, I'm like sitting in my head. I'm like, dude, if I could write, I would be writing bars over this shit. You know, like it's just, and it also made me, I was sitting there, I was like, man, it would be really cool. I was like, this seems like, and this, I don't know, it made me just start thinking and like want to start writing music and stuff, because I've been playing the fuck out of bass lately. And so I'm like leaning into that a lot more. And this album kind of like honestly inspired me a little bit. I was sitting there, I was like, I was like, damn, I was like, you know what? Let's try fucking writing music again, dude. Like we haven't tried that in a decade. Like let's just go back to that. And I can honestly like point to this album, like hearing this over the past 2 weeks, being like, yeah, that listening to this was so good. It inspired me to like start creating music. So fucking shout out, man.
Oh.
This stuff rules.
Nice. That's awesome.
That's awesome. That's really cool. That's really, really cool. When I first discovered this album, I felt like I just had to tell it to everyone. So like I told my friends, I'd be like, hey, listen to this. I would play this at the branch when we were still all working together. So yeah, definitely really great. And if you like kind of like underground, not too popular producers or something just to listen to that's new, I mean, definitely give it a listen. But I can go in a top threes if we ready for it.
Let's do it.
For sure.
So honorable mention, I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with What a Day, because I like that guitar funkiness, and then the bongo drums are bongoing, so it's really good.
them things are thangin'.
Them things are thangin'. Top three, I'm gonna go Wonderful, because I love that little guitar solo that there is on it. There's a thing on here for him. Raphael Stegerer, whoever that is, shout out to you. He kills it on the guitar on that. Number two, I'm going with Spirit, because I love that song. I love the flow of it. And then my favorite song, it's Feelings. I love Feelings. I swapped that out with Fun. I swapped that out a lot with Loner. Like it, I've listened to this album so many times. I have so much appreciation for it. But that's my list.
Those are good picks.
Hell yeah, brother. I do like those. Honorable mentions for me, Mind Trip. Perfect title for that song, if you ask me. It is a mind trip. Another honorable mention, Fun. Mentioned that one earlier. Reminded me of some good old Khruangbin, which we love around here. Number three for me, the opening track, Unity. Fucking strongest way they could have, like, that he could have started this off. Like, I don't think any other song in that position does as well. So I go Unity. Number two was Seeking You, and number one was Dizzy Reality. That bass line, just fuck, man. I'm really gonna try. I can't find bass tabs for it, So I'm gonna really sit there and try and figure out what the fuck he's doing on that bass because it's sexy and I want to play it.
Yeah.
It sounds sick.
It is supposed
I
like
can't find anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, the little bang. I'm like, oh fuck, man. I know how fun that would be to play too. I'm like, that bastard. I can't find it anywhere. But those are my top 3.
Nice. Honorable mention for me was Fun. I think we all like that song. And for me, I felt like I wasn't sure if it was the same album when that song originally came on and I was listening to it. I thought I changed artists and I was like, oh wow, I didn't. And so that made me appreciate this artist more. So honorable mention would be that and What a Day. And then 3, 2, 1, Seeking You, Loner, and then Feelings was my top track as well. Good pick.
I love that. I wanted to note this too, because like the album, there isn't really a lot of information I was trying to find. There's no like Wikipedia page or anything. He has a Bandcamp that I read a little bit about this, but on the album itself, the back, there's like a note from him. It says, I'm thankful to be here and to be surrounded by a loving family, loyal friends, and of course, my privilege to create music. May the melodies touch and accompany you. I want peace, love, and unity. Blessings. I was like, oh, that's cool.
Shout out, man. I love that. Nice. Fuck yeah. Well, hell yeah, Jake. Great album. That album that we just finished talking about was Melody Symphony's Fragments, released in 2020? Yep. Released in 2020. Great album. Go visit it. Great artist in general. Go visit episode 39. Go also visit episode 19 if you want to hear us talk about Floater for the first time. And then also, obviously, like we just said, episode 39 to hear us talk about A Journey to You by Melody Symphony. But thanks for bringing that up. We will be right back to wrap up episode 63. It's Whatchu Spinnin. Okay, let's try this one more time, boyos. I'm so sorry about all that. The fucking ice miser, whatever it was, the cold miser from Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer's out there.
Yeah.
He's out there waiting.
Jack Frost, the snowman one.
Miser.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take it back to the 90s once again for the second time today and revisit, revisit another great artist, one that we've covered twice before on this show. This is Matt's pick for this week. He's covered them the other 2 times or brought them up the other 2 times, so seems fitting to have him introduce this album, which is
it's going to be Fugazi and On the Kill Taker from 1993. I brought not this album, but I brought an album up by them on my first episode with you guys, which was episode 11, and then episode 20 as well. So definitely fans of this artist. This album, for me, one of my favorites. Has a lot of memories for me growing up, kind of my introduction to this band. This is their 3rd album. And like we've said before, it's Fugazi. It's what they sound like and what they do together well as musicians is unique. Nobody sounds like Fugazi. I've explained that to people before, and once they hear them, they're like, yep, that's true. That's a good point. For me, Fugazi's always been a part of my life, and I love introducing this band to other people that haven't heard them or haven't heard very much of them, because I feel like uniquely they all find a love and appreciation for them. So what was your guys' opinion on this one out of the 3 that we've reviewed so far?
I mean, Fugazi, man. Both albums that we covered prior to this, Red Medicine and Repeater, were both so great in their own right and really, captured what this band really, really is and was. And this one is a very nice, because I know that you had mentioned like, hey, listen to this one. I never got around to it, but, I almost kind of figured, I was like, I'm assuming it'll get brought up at some point. But but also honestly just forgot. But I'm glad that you did bring it up because it is very interesting to think of it in comparison to those 2, because it does kind of fall somewhere in the middle with what's the one before this? and after Repeater, it's like
Steady Diet of Nothing.
Yeah, Steady Diet of Nothing. I'd be interested to go and listen to that to hear.
That's a great album too. I mean, every album they have is fantastic. Honestly.
Okay. Yeah.
Break it down.
I would assume so, but.
And you would assume so wrong. So Jake, what's your thoughts on our pick?
I back whatever Dorian kept saying and what did say. I mean, listening to this Red Medicine and Repeater, it's you still hear the same sound at a certain point. Like Repeater is very much like in your face, very like out there. It's high, fast pace. It's heavy on it, and then Red Medicine, it's a little bit more slowed down, I feel like, also, but has the same feel as Repeater. And then this one, it's very much the same. Like at some points, like the start with Face It Squared, it's like right in your face. Like this is Fugazi. This is very similar to what all their other stuff. And then they have differences, like the 23 beats off. You listen to that, the first half, it has that feel, and then the second half, we kind of talked about it. It has like a weird, like electric, like droning sound, where it kind of sounds like someone's like repeatedly like putting like their like plugging in their amp into their guitar and like trying to tune it or whatever. But then you have songs like Instrument or Walker Syndrome that are like kind of more their feel, and I hear it more in this album than I did in Repeater, at least. I don't know about the other ones, but the difference between the two vocalists. On Repeater, at some points I would mix them both up, but with this one, I could tell like, oh, this is this first guy, this is this second one, and I like that about it too. That it's different in that sense. But it's funny, Angela kind of said it sounds like Floater sounded like dad rock. This sounds like uncle rock. Like some of your uncles would listen to, but it also fucking rules. Like you listen to this and it's really fucking good. Everything about it. And I appreciate it more too listening to two more of their albums in their catalog, that I just, at this point, I might as well, fill up my Pokedex and just listen to the rest of it. So really good.
I mean, you do have a point. You might as well, we've gotten this far. Might as well listen to the rest of them.
Yeah.
But no, and it's the sound that Fugazi has. We've kind of they pull the Idols card and they're like, we're not a fucking punk band, and it's like they're definitely not. They kind of, there's at times where they kind of lean toward it, whatever. But their sound reminds you of, it's like the sound of a culture, right? Like that DIY early, like it was the punk scene, that's what it was that like DIY, like we're not going to charge more than $20 for a ticket or whatever the fuck it was. Like it's all going to be, we're going to just source it all with like our friends and shit. Like it had, you listen to this album in particular out of the three that we've covered at this point, and it reminds me so much of that time. Like I listened to 23 Beats Off, and when that vocal comes in, I remember that name. It just reminds me of like a grungy New York bar and like ripped skinny jeans and Skechers or like Checkers slip-on Vans. It's just got such a sound that's so rooted in like skate and punk culture and that kind of era of the 90s. Really, like it was while grunge, like mind you, they're putting these albums out when grunge is exploding and hip hop is exploding. This is something that like we've covered ad nauseum on this podcast, and it's like the fact that Fugazi's putting out this good of fucking music this consistently for this long. It's like every album that we've covered has been a fucking banger in one way or another. And Matt, you've said listen to all of them because it's the same throughout their discography. And I believe it, but that's like really something to look at and appreciate, that they were able to basically kick that much ass for that long while competing with Biggie, fucking A Tribe Called Quest, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. Like the lists go on from either side, and they were able to still mind you, a lot of it might be us looking back at this point and being like, hey, they were great, but still, if you knew about them back then, you fucking knew about them. You know what I mean?
Bands like this are rare, and I feel like Fugazi never strayed away from their formula, and they were true to themselves. After this album came out, they were approached by, I think, Atlantic Records and given a huge contract, stupid numbers, and they turned it down. They were asked to play Lollapalooza and wouldn't do it because the ticket prices were too high. I remember going to see him in Portland at La Luna in the mid-90s, $5 a ticket, and I didn't have a ticket when I got there. I just went up there to go, and I got a ticket somehow and got to see him live. And you feel that culture, like you said, Dorian. You feel that. I felt that at that show, that moment in my life. Scrounging to get a ticket somehow, and somebody helped me out. Somebody I didn't know, helped me out. We were all there together to watch this band do their thing, and it was amazing. And this album has so many different songs that are, accessible and have that punk feel or that slow down feel. The instrumental was Sweet and Low, one of my favorite instrumentals by this band. And then the transition from Brenda to 23 Beats Off is one of my favorites by Fugazi. It's such a unique song. It's so cool. Probably one of my favorite songs by them, for sure. Again, takes me back to high school, friends driving around Eugene, playing Fugazi and Floater and Biggie and Tupac. That's what we did.
Hell yeah.
I was kind of doing a deep dive on this album, and after I finished it, I was like, hey, let me just, read up on their article and stuff. And I stumbled upon Minor Threat. And that was like the band before. What's his name? McKay? Mm-hmm. Him before Ian McKay that he was a part of. Also really fucking good. It sounds a lot like Fugazi, so I'm like, oh, okay, this is similar. Like it still sounds similar. But yeah, like there's so much history to this band. Like so much history throughout the time. You kind of see it over the years and the albums that we've talked about. Like, yes, they're different time frames, different years. They were definitely in different spaces, I feel like, but in the roots, yeah, like you said, the culture to them is still very similar, and they stick to that, and it works. It works for them. This was kind of considered their breakthrough album, that like a lot more people were getting into. But yeah, you have the song like Smallpox, like that song's fucking nuts. And then Last Chance for a Slow Dance. I love that ending too. It's a great ending to the album. Like just all this whole album, I feel like it's like made me appreciate it more. And I was like, this is a contender to Repeater. Like I was like, I don't know which one I like more, if I like Repeater or this one. I think some more time with this one, I would definitely, own it and also, put them side by side. But for a standout alone album for, a follow-up to that, fantastic. Unbelievable.
Right. And the musicianship on it is really, you can see them kind of getting into the more flirting with the more experimental stuff that would come down the line with Red Medicine. And I think that combined with it still having the Repeater roots is what makes it a contender for the same thing, Jake. I'm like, damn, I don't know which one I like more at this point. It's a very tough decision. I could probably be talked into liking it on the Kill Taker more, on a good day. You catch me at the right time, I'll tell you 23 Beats Off is better than the song Repeater. You know what I mean? Like, which, as we know, that's one of my favorite songs of all time. But it's like Returning the Screw, that's like very Red Medicine, and then you get Facet Squared, as we kind of said, is very Repeater influenced, so it's like kind of the middle. It really is the middle of these. That's why when I looked it up this morning, I was like, wait, when did this album come out? I was like, because it sounds like the perfect mix of both. So and that's like what's really cool, is to kind of get the one end, the other end, and then meet them in the middle and be like, oh, if you like sit here and listen to it, you can really hear the progression of them. So that's really cool to hear and see, across 4 albums, a band grow that much and kind of see the improvement slowly but surely. Hell yeah.
Shout out to bass and drum. I think we talk a lot about the vocalist Guy and Ian, but Brandon Canty and Joe Lally, the bass player and the drummer, reverse those names, but just gifted. I remember seeing Brendan playing the drums live at that show La Luna. He has his shirt off, he's sweating, just going for it, and the fans are going crazy because of all the energy he's put into that performance, and the way they play off each other, those two. Just great bass playing as well. So all together, they just round each other out very well.
Do you remember where had this album come out? Were they playing songs off this album?
Yeah, Red Medicine had just came out, and they were kind of combining both back in '95.
Oh, that's fucking awesome, dude.
Red Medicine in this album, Jesus, that would be sick.
There was a fight that broke out in front of the stage, and they stopped the show and like yelled at these students because they were fighting over a girl, and they were like, "We're gonna leave. You guys don't grow up." Luckily, they didn't leave, but yeah, it's funny. I'm glad when a band stops a show and says "fuck you" to somebody. I love that because it's like, respect everything. We're trying to watch you guys. Shut up.
Yeah,
love that shit. Shout out.
Yeah.
I don't know if it got covered. Did you guys talk about 33 1/3? Did you talk about that? So, boys, let me tell you something. I'm going to start collecting something else along with records, dude. This is fucking wild. So, this album, In on the Kill Taker by Fugazi, doing the research this morning, found out that it, kind of had that effect of, oh, now we're looking back on it, this album rules. It wasn't that, like, popular when it came out, kind of like you said, Matt. There is a series of books that authors, scholars, music people go and write. They will write like 150 plus page books dedicated solely to one album. And there's one for In on the Kill Taker. They're called the 33 1/3 books. And let me just read off a list of some of these albums that they have, dude. We've got this one. Voodoo by D'Angelo, Verses by Pearl Jam, Donuts by Jay Dilla, My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye West, To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar, Mad Villainy has one, Paul's Boutique by the Beastie Boys, and parentheses by Sigur Rós. Wow. And that's like, how many ever, like 10 out of 170 some odd books that they've written for this series. Bro, they're like $12 to $16 on Amazon for these books. I'm about to buy 100, like all of them.
I'm gonna check those out. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, so there's one for In on the Kill Taker. The reviews for it's really fucking good. The Mad Villainy one, unfortunately, people didn't say was that great, but yeah, just to have, I saw that. Shout out to the Wikipedia article because it was like, it's mentioned the 33 1/3, and it's like a series of books dedicated to classic or influential albums. And I was like, what? And then I clicked the Wikipedia link, and it had a list of all of the books, and there's like almost 180 of them that they've done. Wow. And there's classics, there's like Pet Sounds, shit like that too. So check them out. I'll send a link. They're fucking wild.
Cool. That's nuts. They do like a whole book just on like an album. I mean, you could write a book about any of these, but that's nuts. I gotta look into that.
Yeah, the one for In on the Kill Taker is like 170, like almost 170 pages long. Yeah, it's wild. So shout out. I'm gonna be looking for them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Well, sorry. First off, sorry. I'm gonna try and edit this to make it look as good as possible. Sorry for those internet fuck ups. My router was recovering from getting blasted with electricity, so we're good now. I'll be able to scrap all of this together. We're good.
Nice.
I have faith. We're gonna be fine.
Sweet.
Shall we?
Dive into top threes, unless you guys have any closing arguments.
No. All I know is that I recognize that name.
So many quotable lyrics from Fugazi, Floater, all the people we listen to. Starting off, honorable mention for me was Sweet and Low, my favorite instrumental by this band. And then 3, 2, 1. 3 would be the Rend It, 23 beats off. That transition's amazing, like I've already said. 2 would be Smallpox Champion, because it's the anthem on the album for sure. And my favorite was Last Chance for a Slow Dance. Like Jake said, it's a good way to end the album. And it's like Fugazi's sound with everything in between. So.
Yeah,
rock on.
I'll go next. Honorable mention. It's corny, but every song on the album. we do this every now and then. We haven't done it in a while, so I was like, let me bring it back. If we're revisiting albums, we're revisiting this phrase. Honorable mention, every song on the album. But top three, I'm going. Jesus.
Yeah.
I'm going. What's that? My handwriting is terrible. Bear with me. Sweet and Low. We love an instrumental track, like Matt said. I love that. I think that compares to the one off Repeater. Is it song number one? Or is it Joe number one? I forget.
Number one.
Joe number one. Yeah, one of the
song number one's not a fuck you song.
Yeah, that's right. It's not a fuck you. Yeah, that's right. So this is close to that. But we love a instrumental track, and I love that they do that. Yes, keep it up. That was number three. Number two, 23 Beats Off. That was the first one. Like, it's right in the middle of the album. It's like it gives you an in your face, and then it gives you an experimental. It was like good follow up to Red Medicine, but there's another one after this. And then my favorite song, I'm going with also Smallpox Champion. I kind of skipped through it at first, and then when I listened to the whole album, I was like, dang, this song's really good. This is really good. But Smallpox, I kept coming back to. But yeah, I can, I could swap out any day Cassavet Instrument, The Walking Syndrome. So yeah, great album.
Very much a great album. Honorable mentions for me. I could also do, the whole album. But I did force myself to choose. I got Returning the Screw, that Red Medicine feel on that, the very kind of heavy leaning toward what was going to come was really cool to see that on that track. Other honorable mention, Cassavetes. There's a sick ass guitar riff at the end of that song, literally with like 40 seconds left. He starts doing some crazy shit, and I'm like, that's rad. We love that. Love a crazy riff for no reason at the end of a song. Number three, Last Chance for a Slow Dance for me. Great way to end the album. Number two, Facet Squared. Opposite side of the coin. Great way to fucking start an album. Love the Repeater feel on that. Because it was, again, as soon as it came on, I was like, this is Fugazi.
Yep.
This is a fucking Fugazi album for sure. Heard that. And then number one, I will never not quote 23 Beats Off for the rest of my life now. That's one of the best songs I've ever heard, honestly. I got weird looks at the intersection out Bob Straub. I got weird looks because I was sitting there steering wheel drumming, like not giving a shit one day, just like, and there was like a mom of three staring at me with all of her kids. I was like, I'm sorry, man. I was like, I just got too into it. So shout out Fugazi. Hell yeah. Nice. Well, thank you, Matt, for bringing that up. That was Fugazi's In on the Kill Taker from 1993, which officially puts a big fat bow on it, ties it like a fucking shoelace for episode 63 of Whatchu Spinnin. But wait, before we let you go, let's go ahead and let you know what's coming for the next episode. We'll be right back to introduce the next episode's material here on Whatchu Spinnin. Be right back. Oh, Matt, forgive me if you told me about this before. Did you know Claypool's Flying Frog Brigade did a Animals album cover too?
I thought that they did something. I didn't know that it was Animals.
Yeah, they did Animals, and it's less Claypool. It was my house for the day. Like, just doing his little Claypool voice, his little high pitch. It's fucking sick. I listened to it yesterday. Okay. It's not bad.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Hell yeah, fellas. What do y'all say we take it on home, huh?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Well, it's about that time. We go ahead and introduce you what's coming next time here on Whatchu Spinnin. We go in the order that we talked about today's material, which means that who's got two thumbs and is up first? This guy. So, Matt, I feel like we're all in this weird phase right now, and we can keep it going, or we choose to stop it. But I feel like we're all just influencing each other to pick albums based off a genre. You're like, hey, that makes me think of this, and this makes me think of that. And so here we are. It's my turn to get influenced again. I'm going 1987's Give Me Convenience or Give Me Death by Dead Kennedys. Little punk album for you. Compilation of tracks that never made it to albums. They were just B-sides or like a one-off live recording of like on like an 8-track that someone happened to have. Pretty fucking dope. Great stuff. I love it. Reminds me of working at Zoomies and selling shoes. So, hell yeah.
I'll say.
Fuck yeah. I'm ready for that one. The one that I'm going, I've been thinking about bringing this up and kind of did a last minute game time decision, but I'm going The Internet, Ego Death, 2015.
Okay.
Ego Death by The Internet.
Fuck yeah.
Nice.
We love that.
Yeah. We had so many good albums that came out last year, 2023. So I'll probably be bringing up a few more of those. This one's from 2023. It's from a band called Fever Ray. The album's called Radical Romantics. I ordered it on Discogs. I was supposed to be here last night, so I don't have it with me, but it's soon to be here. Fever Ray, Radical Romantics.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. We got Fever Ray, The Internet, and some Dead Kennedys. We are officially all over the place once again, and I am here for it. That's what we love over here at Whatchu Spinnin. Thank you so much for stopping by, tuning in with us. Boys, don't fucking leave your houses today. Wait for that shit to clear. It's still white as hell on the roads. I've been checking those cameras. But anyway, that's my main man, Matt, up in the corner. Say goodbye to the people. Jake, in the bottom corner, you do the same. You boys both have a great day. Stay healthy, stay hydrated, stay high. And all the people out there, don't forget to, like and subscribe. Find us on Instagram at Whatchu Spinnin. Find me on Instagram at Dorian Dilly and at Vinyl Tables for Mr. Matt's stuff, posting music, posting all sorts of shit. Anyway, this has been Whatchu Spinnin, episode 63. We'll be back in 2 weeks to talk some cool shit on Whatchu Spinnin, episode 64. See you later.
See you.